Ethics is really important in the world today because, especially in corporations, it keeps an even playing field for all businesses and corporations all around the country and around the world. First off, ethics are really important in business because it lets the employees and everyone who's looking at their financial results know what's really going on in that company. When someone is cooking the books or making false records of what's going on in the company, it gives people a false, reality of what's happening in that company, which can be really bad for shareholders. And like I said earlier, can be really bad for employees because employees are working at a company that they think is going to be a really good place that fosters a really good learning environment. But in reality, they're, making shortcuts, they're cooking the books, they're doing all these things to try to get ahead. And I mean, it does, I guess, kind of make sense because it is really hard to keep a steady path of growth for a lot of businesses. But at the same time, you can't cook books, you can't fake numbers, you can't fudge the numbers, you can't do any of that stuff because ultimately it's just going to end up hurting your company in the future.
A live look-in at one of our accountants.
There's no one here. Just one little zero won't hurt anybody.
That's not
As
right.
you saw in the scenario with the accountant, cooking the books can be pretty easy, but it is very unethical and it has major implications for the company. So adding an extra zero may seem like an easy way out and may seem like a way to make a company look more profitable, but in the long run, it's cutting a corner and it is not beneficial for the company. A more current ethical case that is still going on today is Theranos. They were originally a company started by Elizabeth Holmes that was designed to be able to test blood with just a drop. So you could just prick the end of your finger and then they could put it through their machine and tell you whether you had a certain disease, and then they could give you a diagnosis based on that. So the scandal came into play because the technology didn't actually work. So sometimes they were giving people a diagnosis that they had a disease when they actually didn't, and other times they were telling people that they didn't have a disease when they actually did. So after Theranos and Elizabeth were caught, the company was shut down and all of the assets were seized. So all of the people that she had convinced to invest money in the company and in her, they lost all of their money. So ethically, they were taken advantage of by her.
After examining the many ethics issues during this project, especially the case that Michael hit on and cooking the books, bad ethics issues are always going to happen in this country. But there are many ways we can do to prevent it. First, with cooking the books, we need to make sure that there are several different ways that we check these numbers. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, the SEC, GAAP, these are all put in place to make sure that numbers are checked, that systems are overviewed, that the employees are overviewed, and that not the same employees working on several different or the same different case. So basically, if one employee is doing all the numbers, there's going to be a major opportunity for fraud there. So basically, what the SEC and what all these other commissions are doing is they're eliminating the opportunity for this fraud and for the cooking of the books. And then also, with the case that Michael talked about, fraud is always going to happen with people because in reality there are bad people out there. So it's really important to make sure that we're double checking these people as well. When an idea that comes out that sounds maybe too good to be true, or a great idea that comes out where people really start to invest, we need to make sure that we're double checking what these people are doing to make sure that, ultimately all these people lost their money, which is really sad. So basically what we need to do is we need to have weekly checkpoints. We need to make sure that people over their shoulders, watching what the numbers they're reporting, seeing the research that they're doing, making sure all this fraud can ultimately be prevented.